The wind howled through the towering pines of Iridani Prime's dusk forests. The air was thick with mist that glowed faintly where the twin moons cut through the canopy, turning the world into a silver labyrinth of shadows. Somewhere deep among those shadows, something monstrous was moving. Elaiya stumbled over a gnarled root, catching herself just before she fell face first into the damp earth. Her lavender skin was streaked with mud and blood, her tight exosuit torn along her shoulder where claws had scraped but failed to tear her apart. Her breath came in shallow gasps, every lungful tasting of moss and terror. Behind her, the beast let out a roar that rattled the ground under her knees. She pushed herself up, her mind screaming to keep running. Her species, Iridani, were made for speed and grace, but not for this world. Not for beasts like the Nargul, the ancient apex predator of Iridani's forests. Her bioluminescent markings, usually a sign of beauty among her kind, now made her a beacon for death. She heard the Nargul crash through the undergrowth, snarling and snorting, its breath steaming in the chill air. She ran again, barely able to see through tears and sweat. She didn't know how long she'd been running, minutes, hours, it felt like days. Then, through the trees, a light, a warm, steady glow where there should have been only wilderness. She stumbled toward it, hope flaring so brightly it hurt worse than her wounds. It was a cabin. Rough-hewn timber, old but sturdy, with smoke curling from a crude chimney. There was no mistaking it a human cabin. She collapsed onto the clearing's mossy ground, dragging herself across the last stretch. Her body refused to move anymore. She crawled to the door and banged her fist weakly against it. The warmth spilling from the gaps between the wooden planks was a taunt, so close, yet out of reach. "Please," she croaked in universal basic, her voice hoarse and raw. "Please help me." There was a clatter inside, someone moving. The door creaked open, flooding her with a golden glow and the scent of wood smoke and something savory. And there he stood, a man, broad-shouldered, bare-chested despite the cold. His hair was damp with sweat as though he'd just come from some labor. His eyes were wary, but not unkind. His gaze flicked from her bruised, bleeding form to the black forest beyond. In the distance, the beast growled again. "What the hell are you?" the man asked, voice low but steady. She tried to answer, but a sob choked her instead. She pressed her forehead to the rough threshold. "Please," she whispered. "It's hunting me. I don't want to die." For a heartbeat, she saw the cold calculation in his eyes. A stranger, an alien stranger, begging on his doorstep. A monstrous roar rattled the trees. Her heart sank. Of course he'd shut the door, lock it tight, and let the forest decide her fate. Instead, he bent down. Rough hands slid under her arms, lifting her with a surprising gentleness. She felt herself being pulled into warmth, out of the nightmare. "Hold on," he murmured. "I've got you." Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of pine and a simmering stew. A fireplace cast flickering shadows on sturdy walls lined with scavenged gear and tools. He set her down by the fire and slammed the door shut behind him. The distant roar came again, closer, angry. He dragged a thick iron bar across the door's braces, sealing them in. "Stay down," he said, crossing to a wooden trunk. He pulled out a battered pulse rifle, old, but well cared for. She huddled closer to the fire, trembling. Her eyes fixed on the rifle, then his face. She didn't even know his name. Why did you help me?" she asked, her voice shaking. He gave a grunt that might have been a laugh. "Couldn't let you get eaten on my doorstep, could I?" He checked the rifle's power cell, then knelt in front of her, his eyes scanning her injuries. "You're Iridani, right? Didn't think any of you strayed this deep." She winced as he probed the torn flesh on her arm. I was part of a survey team. We landed 3 nights ago. The Nargul found us by the river. They didn't make it. The man's jaw tightened. He nodded once, like he understood more than he said. Gently, he tore open a packet of antiseptic gel, dabbing it over her wound. The sting made her flinch, but she didn't pull away. "Name's Roan," he said finally. "Ex-colony guard." "And you?" "Elaiya," she whispered. The Nargul hit the door a moment later, like a thunderclap that shook the whole cabin. Roan sprang up, planting himself between her and the door. The beast snarled, claws raking the thick timber, fangs snapping just beyond the barrier. Elaiya curled smaller by the hearth, eyes wide with terror. "It'll break through." Roan shook his head. "Not tonight, it won't." He shouldered the rifle, peering through a narrow crack between planks. The beast paced outside, its 3 luminous eyes glowing in the darkness. It slammed its bulk against the door again. The hinges groaned but held. Roan lowered the rifle, turning back to her. "You should rest. It won't stay if it can't breach. By dawn, it'll lose interest." Elaiya forced a laugh that came out as a sob. "It never loses interest." Roan crouched beside her again. Up close, she saw the scars on his chest, old claw marks, burns, a life etched into flesh. He smelled of pine, smoke, and sweat. "Hey," he said softly, "you're safe here. Understand? It's my home. Nothing gets through these walls while I'm breathing." She wanted to believe him. She really did. Hours passed in an uneasy truce. The beast circled, snarled, raked its claws on the walls. Sometimes it roared so loud the timber shivered. Roan sat with his back against the door, the rifle across his knees, eyes steady but unblinking. When she shivered too hard to stop, he fetched her an old blanket, draping it over her shoulders like she was made of glass. Between the crashes and roars, he spoke in a low voice, soft stories of other nights on other worlds. Patrols gone bad, outposts lost to storms. A man who'd survived worse things than a forest monster. "You've seen a Nargul before?" she asked. He nodded. "Long time ago. Lost good people to one of those bastards. This cabin, built it with iron braces, pulse locks. If you're gonna live off-grid here, you make sure nothing breaks in." She studied him through the flickering firelight. His eyes were gray, but there was warmth in them. No one from her crew would have stopped to help an alien stranger. But this human, a lone man in a monster's hunting ground, had opened his door. "Why stay here?" she whispered. "Why not leave?" Roan shrugged. "Some things you run from, some things you face. Besides," he gestured at the simple cabin. "It's quiet here. Honest. After the wars, I wanted something simple." Another roar crashed through the night, this one farther away. Elia's breath caught. Was it leaving? Roan tilted his head, listening. Good. It'll trail off till dawn. When her eyes grew too heavy to keep open, she let him guide her to a rough cot near the fire. He laid another blanket over her, then took up his place by the door again, watching through the crack. In that tiny cabin, with a monster outside and warmth inside, Elaiya drifted asleep for the first time in days. The dawn came slow and pale. The Nargul was gone, its tracks deep scars in the moss beyond the cabin. Elaiya stepped out into the misty clearing, the cold air biting at her bare skin through her torn suit.